Family. We need to go into a revelation the church has avoided for centuries. God never created marriage to be a prison, a punishment, a bondage, or a trap people cannot escape. Religion turned marriage into captivity. God designed marriage to be an expression of awakened identity. And because humanity is asleep, marriage has become one of the greatest places of suffering. Let's decode this truth so people can finally be free. God hates divorce has been one of the most abused statements in church history. People have been told, stay no matter what, pray harder, submit more, endure the abuse. God hates divorce. And people, especially women, have stayed in marriages filled with violence, brokenness, manipulation, emotional trauma, spiritual abuse, ego-driven power dynamics. Because religion convinced them leaving displeases God. But here is the truth. God permitted divorce. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1-4. Not because he desired separation, but because he would never force his expressions to remain in situations that destroy their essence. God hated the hardness of heart, not the separation for safety. Marriage was always symbolic before it was physical. Everything God does is inner before outer. Spirit to soul to body. Alignment to expression to manifestation. Awakening to experience to covenant. Marriage only works the way God designed it when both people are awakened. Why? Because marriage is supposed to mirror the unity of spirit, Adam, and soul, Eve. Two dimensions of the same being in Genesis 1-2. Before the fall, spirit and soul were one, reflecting each other perfectly. That is the symbolism Jesus spoke of in Matthew 19. In the beginning it was not so is symbolic, not literal. When Jesus said, "From the beginning it was not so," he was not talking about two humans, two physical bodies, external marriage laws, earthly relationships. He was speaking symbolically of the unity of spirit and soul before the fall into the physical realm. Spirit and soul cannot be divorced. They are one essence. So, Jesus was referring to the original state of consciousness, not telling people to stay in abusive marriages. Religion misinterpreted Jesus' metaphor and created a doctrine that has enslaved millions. God permitted divorce because humans operate from ego consciousness. Jesus himself explained it. Moses permitted divorce because of the hardness of your hearts. Matthew 19:8. Hardness of heart equals unawakened soul operating from ego. Meaning, if you haven't awakened, if your identity is not restored, if your soul is still asleep, if ego rules your decisions, you cannot love, with 1 Corinthians 13. You cannot walk in Ephesians 5. You cannot express the nature of Christ consciousness. So God permitted divorce because God knew people would hurt each other. Not because God wanted separation, but because God forbids abuse. Marriage becomes stressful when two unawakened souls try to imitate a spiritual pattern they have not embodied. An unawakened couple cannot embody patience, gentleness, self-control, humility, sacrificial love, unity of spirit, true partnership, because they are operating from ego consciousness. This is why marriage feels heavy, stressful, draining, confusing, unstable. Not because the people are bad, but because they are asleep. Ego plus ego equals conflict. Spirit plus soul equals harmony. Awakened identity equals effortless love. Unawakened identity equals forced performance. Religion forces behavior. Awakening transforms nature. Unequally yoked is not about religion, it's about consciousness. Religion misinterpreted this verse to mean, don't marry a Muslim, don't marry an atheist, don't marry someone outside your denomination. But Paul was not talking about religion. He was talking about awareness. Unbeliever is anyone who has not awakened to Christ consciousness within. It has nothing to do with religious labels. Two people who are both Christian can still be unequally yoked if both are asleep. Two awakened people from different faith backgrounds can be perfectly yoked because they see God in one another. Beautiful imagery of two trees growing together, their branches intertwined, symbolizing true spiritual unity. Golden light filters through the leaves. Unequally yoked equals one awakened, one asleep. That mismatch creates stress, not because of theology, but because of consciousness. Abuse is a violation of God's nature, not a test of endurance. If God is love, He cannot ask you to stay where you are unloved. He cannot ask you to stay where you are unsafe. He cannot ask you to stay where your soul is dying. He cannot ask you to stay where ego is dominating. He cannot ask you to stay where identity is crushed. Abusive marriages do not represent God. They represent unawakened identity. And God permitted divorce to protect His children from the destruction caused by ego-driven relationships. True marriage begins after awakening, not before. Once you awaken, you see God in your partner. Ego loses its influence. You cannot dominate or manipulate. You cannot hurt or belittle. You cannot cheat or abuse. You cannot suppress or control. Why? Because it is against the nature of God in you. This is what marriage was meant to be. Two awakened souls, reflecting spirit and soul unity within themselves, then expressing it outwardly. Two streams flowing together into one river, symbolizing the natural unity of awakened souls. That's why Paul said, "Submit yourselves one to another," in Ephesians 5:21. Submission is natural when identity is awakened. It is torment when ego is in control. The conclusion: God permitted divorce out of love, not judgment. You are not cursed if you left. You are not less spiritual. You are not outside God's will. You are not rebellious. You are not disqualified. God permitted divorce because God values your safety. God values your wholeness. God values your peace. God values your identity. God values your awakening. Divorce is not a sin. Abuse is a sin. Violence is a sin. Dominance is a sin. Oppression is a sin. God hates what destroys His children, not what protects them. The true message is to enjoy marriage God's way. Awaken first. Awaken to the Christ consciousness within, your divine identity, your true nature, the love of God, the oneness of spirit and soul. Then marriage becomes restful, peaceful, joyful, effortless, a reflection of Eden, a manifestation of Genesis 2 blessings. Marriage was never meant to save you. Awakening is what saves marriage. When you awaken, marriage becomes the overflow, not the battlefield. Now, let's look at what Jesus meant by whoever divorces and marries another commits adultery. People were taught this literally, as if Jesus was saying, if you remarry, God is angry. If you remarry, you're living in sin. If you marry someone divorced, you're committing adultery. But none of that is what Jesus meant. Jesus never contradicts the Father's nature. Jesus never contradicts mercy. Jesus never traps people in bondage. So, what was he saying? To understand this, you must go back to Genesis symbolism, spirit plus soul union, ego consciousness, awakening versus illusion. Jesus was speaking in symbols, the same way he did when teaching, the parables, the kingdom within, the vine and branches, the marriage feast, the 10 virgins, the sheep and goats. He was not creating a legal rule. He was revealing a spiritual reality. Let's decode it. Jesus was not talking about physical marriage. He was talking about the inner marriage of spirit and soul before the fall. Adam, spirit, Eve, soul, were one being in perfect unity. This inner union was the original marriage, the marriage in the beginning. Spirit and soul were so united that they could not divorce. This is why Jesus said, "From the beginning, it was not so." He's pointing back to inner unity, not earthly rules. Abstract but beautiful imagery showing unity becoming separation, representing the fall from original consciousness. Divorce is when the soul separates from spirit and joins ego. Spirit is your true nature. Soul is your consciousness. Ego is the serpent mind. When the soul leaves alignment with spirit and joins alignment with ego, that is the true divorce Jesus was addressing. He wasn't talking about paperwork or earthly contracts. He was describing what happened in Genesis 3. Soul separated from spirit. Soul listened to ego. Soul entered duality. Soul married the serpent consciousness. The soul left spirit and married another. This is the adultery Jesus was talking about. Adultery is the soul uniting with anything that is not spirit. Not your earthly spouse, your spirit spouse. He who marries the divorced commits adultery means if you join someone while they are unawakened, you will join their ego. This is not punishment, it's simply reality. If a person's soul is not aligned with spirit in a spouse, and you unite yourself to them, you are joining their ego, their trauma, their illusions, their fear, their sleep state, their unresolved patterns. You are marrying what they are married to. So Jesus was saying, if a person's soul is divorced from spirit, any relationship they enter will be adulterated by ego. It has nothing to do with remarriage. It has everything to do with consciousness. Whoever divorces and marries another means moving from one ego state to another without awakening. When someone hasn't awakened, they can leave one relationship, ego state, and immediately bind themselves to another ego state. It's not the new partner that is the issue. It's the unhealed soul entering the new connection. Soul divorced from spirit equals unstable. Soul married to ego equals destructive. Soul entering another relationship equals more destruction. The teacher explains with compassion, showing this is wisdom for protection, not condemnation. This is why Jesus said, "He who marries another commits adultery," meaning, if your soul has not returned to spirit, you will repeat the same ego cycle in every relationship. This is psychological truth, not moral condemnation. Jesus was protecting people, not restricting them. He was teaching. Do not join your life to someone whose soul is not aligned with their spirit. Because if their soul is unawakened, unhealed, ego-driven, disconnected from identity, they cannot love you with 1 Corinthians 13, Ephesians 5, selflessness, patience, gentleness, purity, honesty. Jesus wasn't saying don't remarry. He was saying heal first, align first, awaken first. Otherwise, ego will destroy both of you. Beautiful imagery of healing light, representing the restoration and alignment Jesus calls for. This is deep spiritual wisdom, not law. How this ties into God permitting divorce. Now watch how beautifully this connects. Jesus spoke symbolically about the original inner union of spirit and soul. Religion turned his symbolism into literal rules. People became trapped in abusive marriages. Religious leaders weaponized Jesus' words against people. But Jesus' entire teaching was, return to alignment with your inner spouse, spirit, before joining with a physical spouse. Once you awaken, there is no ego. There is no violence. There is no abuse. There is no manipulation. There is no domination. There is no cheating. There is no selfishness. Because you see the source in the other person. Awakened union is the marriage God designed. Unawakened union is the marriage religion forced. Divorce is permitted because no awakened God expression should be abused by another unawakened soul. The real meaning of Jesus' teaching. Awakening prevents adultery, and inner union restores marriage. Jesus did not say, stay in suffering, stay in danger, stay in abuse, stay in pain, stay in shame. He said, return, awaken, align, become whole. Let your soul rejoin your spirit. Then everything else will flow effortlessly. That is the teaching. That is the heart of God. That is the meaning of marriage. That is the truth behind divorce.